Good afternoon. Here we go. I'm going to do another video here for you. Hopefully this will help you out. What we're going to be talking today about is the charging system on your rod. Now this could be an ATV, UTV, or pretty much just about any kind of automotive or mechanical device that's got a motor and has a charging system, automatic charging system on it. Now it's not exactly, each one is not the same or doesn't work the same, but it's very similar. Some of them have a little extra more parts, some of them have less parts, but anyways, they all work the same. They work by an alternator, stator generator actually, more likely. It has a regulator rectifier to regulate the amount of voltage coming out and going to your battery. You have your ignition switch, and you have your start control relay, and you have your ignition relay. Now, on most of them, what you're going to find is you have the ignition switch. You're going to have the start control relay. It's also a lot of times works in conjunction with the ignition relay. And then you have your regulator rectifier, and then you have your stator generator. Most of the time, the stator generator really does not go out. It's because it has no moving parts other than the rotor, and the rotor never touches anything. However, you do have wiring. The wiring tends to get hardened and breaks. So a lot of times there's two things that you're more likely going to find. There are actually four things that are going to be, about four things that could go wrong with your charging system. That it could be your regulator rectifier, wiring, your ignition switch, or your start control ignition relay. However, today we're not going to talk about all that stuff. We're just going to talk about two things: the battery and your regulator rectifier. How to do a quick check of your system in case you think you have some kind of problem. This you can dismiss 2-3 things right out of the way. So anyways, I'm going to show you how to do this. Also show you the tools that you're going to be using and what to look out for. Alright, first thing we're going to talk about here, before we get started, we're going to talk about the tools we're going to be needing. We're going to be needing a screwdriver, a wrench, a lot of times a 10 millimeter, a brush. Now on this brush, remember the brush. Try not to use a wire brush, or a metal wire brush I should say. Try to get either a copper or a brass brush. What it does is whenever it cleans, it doesn't leave any the metal particles that it leaves embedded into the lead terminals will not induce or it will inhibit corrosion, and you don't want corrosion in your terminals. And of course, the last thing that's very important is voltage meter. Very important. AC/DC type. Digital, you could use a digital, you could use an analog. Just remember, we're going to be checking on the DC part. The first thing we're going to check is the battery. Now, getting to the battery, it depends on where your unit has the battery stored. There's a lot of times you don't have to take the strap off to get to the terminal. Sometimes you do. Now, I have a Kingquad 09 Kingquad 750 here, and it has a metal strap across the top that holds the battery down. Depending on what your ride has, but most of them have some kind of hold down system, and you might have to take this off. Anyways, on this one, we have a metal strap that comes across with 2 bolts, 10 millimeter. We'll take those off. Now, we're going to go to check the battery. First thing, we're going to check the battery. Battery has to be fully charged in order to get this. If for any reason you find that your battery is not fully charged or is not giving you a full reading, stop, put your battery on charge for a couple of hours, and then start again. But remember, have your battery fully charged first. Anyways, here we go. Alright, with the engine and key off, what we're going to do is check the battery. Your battery should give you anywhere from 12 to 12.5 volts. Sometimes it will even give you like 12.75. However, anywhere over 12 and under 13 is a good sign of good, healthy battery. Now, also on your meter, make sure before, of course, we're working with electronics here. Your meter, if it's a digital, make sure you check it first that it's actually working. Sometimes these things do go out, and well, it starts giving you a bad reading. So you'll be chasing all kinds of problems because you have a bad meter. Anyways, your meter, when you hook it up, first of all, you set your meter to DC voltage, and since we're checking 12 volts, we have to set it at anywhere above 12, and actually you could set it up to 200 volts, and it will come down and read. However, on mine, it has a setting. I'm going to set it at 20 here, and the battery is reading at 12.7, which is a good sign. Also, your your leads, make sure that your leads are positive to red and negative to black. Very important. If you happen to connect them incorrectly, most of the time the meters will give you an error across the screen. If not, a lot of times you have a very bad day and your meter will burn out. Okay, the next step is we're going to turn the unit on. However, make sure you disconnect your meter from the battery before you actually start. What it is a lot of amperage will go through that lead, and if the meter is connected, it could burn out your meter, and it could actually make your meter explode. So we don't want to do that. So make sure that you disconnect it. Sorry, hold on there. Make sure you take the leads off. Then once the unit is running and the idle stabilized, then go ahead and connect the leads back up. See that? They're connected. And we check the meter. Now, your meter still has to be set at around the 20 or anywhere above the 12 volt range. DC. Remember, DC, not AC. DC. And, sorry, the lead came off. Now, as you can see, we're reading 13.8. Yes, I know that last number is going a little crazy and it's missing a couple of little bars, but you get the point. It's 13.8. That's a good thing. Now, remember, whenever the unit is running anywhere above 13.5 to 14.8, the system is charging correctly. If it's under 13.5, you have a problem. If you go over 14.8, you have a problem. Either way, those have to be corrected. A lot of times what you can do is disconnect your battery, clean your terminals, and you will see that a lot of things go right after that. Also, make sure that your terminals are snug down. Do not crank very hard on the screws that hold the terminals to the battery, because remember, a lot of times that is some kind of lead alloy stuff, metal, and if you crank on it too hard, you'll break them off. All you got to do is snug them down. And a good rule of thumb is that once you feel that the screw is set all the way down as far as it can go by hand tight or with a screwdriver, go down slowly until you feel it set, then you can just turn it about a quarter to a half a turn more and it should be tighter. And that's how you do it. That's how you check. It's a quick check. Once again, don't assume that just because the battery's checking bad or looking bad or checking bad, the voltage regulator's checking bad or something like that. Also, make sure you check the wire and the harness. Make sure you don't have any broken wires. Make sure you have good contacts on all your wiring that actually is supposed to make contact with your frame or connectors. Check all this stuff before you assume that you have a bad component. A lot of times, like I said, on your battery, if you clean the terminals, a lot of your problems will go away, because that is one of the weakest points is your battery. If you keep cleaning it with a metal wire brush, you get corrosion in between the terminals and the battery contact, and you won't have a good contact, and it'll give you a bad reading. So anyways, hopefully this helps you out. Have a great day, and we'll see you out in the trails.